Here's something interesting I thought of when I was thinking if I had anything interesting or important to add to Asian Pacific Islander Heritage Month. I'm a mixed Japanese Caucasian American. My grandfather was an engineer in the army stationed in Okinawa during the Korean War. My grandmother came from a prominent and wealthy family in Okinawa. She was the youngest of 5, and her parents, particularly her mother, were very surprised and kind of concerned that their youngest daughter wanted to marry an American soldier and go back to America with him. But that's exactly what happened. After having their first child, my aunt, they came back to the States and moved back to Wichita, Kansas. Shortly after, my grandpa got a big opportunity, becoming an engineer at McDonnell Douglas in St. Louis, the company that would eventually merge with Boeing. And yes, my grandpa would be rolling in his grave if he knew what was going on with Boeing lately. But there was one big problem. This was in about 1958, and Missouri still had anti-miscegenation laws on the books. But even worse, Missouri had a unique anti-miscegenation law that not only forbade whites from marrying blacks, but also whites from marrying Asians, a law that I don't believe was in place in any other part of the country. Missouri would not repeal these laws until 1969, 2 years later than they were legally mandated to by the Loving v. Virginia ruling. That meant my grandparents were openly defying Missouri law when they moved here and lived in defiance of it for about 10 years. Now, it's possible that they were protected by the War Brides Act of 1950 that allowed servicemen to bring their Japanese and Korean wives and children back home with them to the U.S. But from what I can find, this only applied to marriages that occurred before March 19th, 1952. My grandparents were married in 1955, so as far as I know, this exception no longer applied to them, and they were living in Missouri with their mixed children in defiance of the law. Back in the 50s and 60s, if the states that had these laws wanted to, they could legally imprison you, take your kids, and make them wards of the state. Thankfully, that didn't happen to my family, but it happened to others, and the threat was always there. My message this Heritage Month is this: we cannot go back. There are people in this country who are actively working to undo Loving v. Virginia and pretty much every other ruling and law that protects the marriages and families of marginalized people. You can probably imagine who these people are. Imagine this as well. One night, you're playing with your kids at home and your door gets busted down. They tackle you to the ground, put you on your stomach, cuff you and your spouse, and then another group of people come in and escort your crying children away, all for the crime of being mixed. There are people who want this back. People who are mad Loving v. Virginia exists. We cannot allow these people to come into power. We need to vote them out, stifle them, and as an entire society, reject and ridicule their ideas until they have no ground left to stand on. And then we have to protect the rights of our other siblings in humanity, because coming from mixed kids and interracial couples will probably be the last thing on their list. Resist hate. Defy injustice. Listen to your POC sisters, brothers, and others. These are extremely dark times, but we cannot allow the light to go out.